to him one more time. Woo! That's who's standing here today. Hold two. Arm bar. This is
Bret screwed Bret.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. And that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so.
Oh, live and in living color, it is WrestleMania season, Heat Ratio Sports, it's the Maddie Daddy. We are talking WrestleMania 8, Hart versus Piper, and I have from Front Facelock, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Ryan McGann, what's up, baby?
How you doing today, Maddie? Thank you for having me on your show. Love your intro, by the way. It's awesome.
Thank you very much. King of wrestling, baby. Dude, I've reached out to multiple people in this clique of wrestling, the community that's so great to us. I want to give a big props to your show as we'll talk it throughout the episode. But Piper Hart, why? Right off the bat, what comes to mind? Why is this the match? Short form.
It was something about this match that happened. By today's standards, it's actually a slow-paced match. But it's a wrestling match. It's something where you watch it, you go, there's good wrestling in this match. You know, they do the test of strength, and there's the, lockups. I can do this. I can throw you over. I can throw you over, and it's move for move, and they're both faces. So and Piper didn't want to turn heel, but there's that point where he's like, is he gonna hit him with the bell? Is he gonna? And there's so many more levels that since I've been researching it, since we talked about being on. I don't know. It's like one of the, everybody considers like the Ricky Steamboat Macho Man match to be one of the greatest in history. And I feel like this match is right at that level as far as the wrestling in the match.
Absolutely. I think storytelling, like if today's standards, I felt the match, and like you said, layers. I felt like I was experiencing a story from the promo before till the end of the match. Just crazy how they laid it out. Let's talk Hart. Let's talk Piper, because this is 1992. We've seen Bret Hart bounce around WWE, and it's kind of like always the spotlight's on him. It's almost like a minor league effect, or a freshman, the sophomore, to junior, and he feels like he's right on the cusp of greatness here. What is your thoughts on mid-card Bret Hart, IC runs, etc.?
Well, it's funny because I actually loved mid-card Bret better than main event Bret. But doing the research for this show, and we just interviewed the Mountie, he dropped the belt to the Mountie, and then 2 days later, the Mountie dropped it to Piper, which led to this match. And from what I've been reading the last couple days or wherever it's been, Hart didn't want to do this match. He kind of was like, all right, I dropped the belt to the Mountie. I wasn't all for that. And then he actually says in an interview, he actually was thinking about reaching out to WCW because he thought his push was over.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so Piper's the one that talked him into the match and said, no, this is going to be good. You're going to work with me. It's going to put you over, and it's going to do a lot for your career. But Hart thought his push was over. He thought he was done. And it was Piper that actually brought him back in, which I thought was incredible. I never knew that.
Well, and this is 92, so it's just crazy to see, like, this is the cusp of Bret Hart. Like you said, mid-card run, and then he's feet to the floor, Yokozuna, Diesel, Undertaker, this huge reign. But think if you would have had a role reversal where he's in WCW with Sting, would it have been the same kind of top tier that he would have wanted as a face?
I don't think so, because in WCW in 92, you still had, Stunning Steve Austin and Terrence Taylor and PN News. And you still had those, the Ding Dongs, I think were 91 or 90.
Oh, man.
So you still had those really bad Saturday night guys. You had Paul Orndorff and you had Sting and you had big names there, but Flair left. And Flair left with the belt because they didn't give him his deposit back. So he kept the belt. So WCW was kind of like on the brink. They were still like, you kind of still suck, but we still have some good names here. Johnny B. Bad was one of their biggest guys.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I think if Hart went over there in 92, he probably would have got lost in the shuffle, or they would have changed his gimmick and made him somebody, the Calgary hold master or something stupid like that.
Well, then let's talk one of your most favorite wrestlers of all time, if not Hot Rod Roddy Piper, because this is one of his only opportunities, maybe his only one as a title holder. So thoughts, where is the placement? Because we've seen all the greatness of Piper with Piper's Pit and really the rock and wrestling. He was the 80s of WrestleMania, of the inception with Mr. T, whatnot. What place in his career is Roddy Piper in 92?
92, he's coming off his heel, like a long run as a heel. And, he's going face. And he said in interviews that, he didn't want to do a heel anymore. He liked being a face. He liked the crowd liking him. And it's funny because right before the match is that great promo that they cut with Mean Gene, where Piper's still kind of heelish in the promo, because he's talking about, I remember you when you were knee-high to a grasshopper and you used to tie your shoes and the bologna sandwiches and this and that. And he's still kind of trying to be a dick, but then Hart kind of slaps his hand. And he's like, it's Hart's way of saying, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm not the little kid. But, this was my favorite era of Piper because he was still intense and he was still kind of an ass, but he wasn't, the heel Piper, and then he wasn't the over the hill. I've just won my second championship in WWE in 2006 with Ric Flair Piper. So
right.
It's like right in the middle, and right before he went to commentating, or it might have been right after he commentated because it was 92, so 91 was commentating. But it's like he's just coming off all that. So yeah, he has something to prove as a face, but he doesn't want to be a heel anymore, and he's facing one of the biggest faces in the company. So he's kind of in that almost stone cold gray area of face heel.
Right. What's the next move? You've kind of seen all these legends. I wouldn't even say they're not out of their prime, but you can kind of tell like you were saying, the boat's rocking, and what's next with the steroid scandal. I hate saying that because whatever. Anyways, let's just keep it going. Let's get to the match though, because Piper, Hart, Hall of Famers, greats of the greats. Let's get to the main event.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Oh, yeah, in a position of Vinny, I'm calling you out right now. Yeah, even though I'm facing Flair later at WrestleMania 8, we're talking Front Facelock. I need you on the show ASAP. Dig it. All right, dude. WrestleMania 8. The Hoosier Dome, Indiana, the Domes. I asked Nick previously, Tim, I got to get your opinion. Dome pay-per-views, the sound, everything. Is it not just a different feeling than the outside matches?
It is. And the great part about WrestleMania 8, because the Dome had it was clear almost on top. So like the daytime matches were like brighter, and then you get to the Savage and the Hogan match, and it's darker. So you get like the outdoor feel mixed with the indoor feel. And I liked the outdoor events. As much as WrestleMania 9 was garbage, I liked the whole outdoor event thing. So this kind of had the best of both worlds as far as the outdoor-indoor event because of the way the Dome was structured. But there was if you watch the aerial shots, there's all the chairs on the floor. And they're like, it's just, it's Monsoon and Heenan who were the best ever. And they're like, it's a sold out packed capacity crowd. And it's like, you look at the crowd, and it's like, oh, look at all those empty seats. But then you see the people come to the seats later.
Right.
But they just said it at the wrong time.
Well, and you got to remember, TV production isn't like nowadays where you can have 1,000 fans at SmackDown, but it looks full, brother. So let's talk, like you mentioned that promo that they show, the Mean Gene Okerlund. I love these promo feels of the early 90s where you get Mean Gene Okerlund kind of giving you that big match feel. Sometimes it would be too watered down where you'd have 30 promos on a SummerSlam. But I loved having both these guys kind of go back and forth with the Piper's kind of cocky, messing with them, like you said, the grasshopper thing. And then Bret Hart shoves him like, hey, I'm on your level now, buddy.
Yeah, because Piper was, Hart was always the Hart Foundation, the tag team guy. He was in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 2 when Piper was in one of the main events, and Hart wasn't at WrestleMania 1. And then you fast forward, and it's like now Hart's a former Intercontinental Champion, but Piper's still treating him like the little kid, right. And so Hart has to kind of like establish his dominance because Piper's always been the dominant guy.
Well, and I love that switch that was flipped when he pushed Piper. And it's like Piper snapped, like, because he's already in your face. Like, he's a little cocky in the promo, which is what I, take away, not following it at the time, diving back. I didn't understand he was a heel or a face. I was just kind of saying, okay, like, he's calling his shot. And then Bret's like getting bullied. Bret picks it up. But Piper's like, all right, you want to do that? Let's round the circle. I'll meet you in the ring in front of millions. And then, boom, it's like the intensity. I feel
and then they grab each other, and Piper, Hart goes to punch him, and Piper goes, you wouldn't have done it. And he had the belt wrapped around us. So Piper was prepared if Bret was going to fight him.
Good. Oh.
And that was the genius of Piper. Piper is just the best of all. Like, Piper's GOAT. He's Mount Rushmore. Like, love him or hate him, he's got 2 championships in WWE. But, he just, everything he did was calculated. Everything he did had a plan, and you followed it out. And then when it got done, you went, okay, he's awesome. I love Piper. Even as a heel, I hated Piper when I was a kid, but I loved him because he was so good at it.
Oh, and that's why I was interested to see his wrestling style, because I thought it was kind of your brawler, but I saw him kind of doing the technician part with Hart. So like, it just blends the story so much more together, which I loved. But we get the match, obviously you said Monsoon, Heenan, right up there on the top. I agree 100%. I'd take those 2 over Ross and over Lawler, just my opinion. And then you've got Jesse Ventura. I'd put a close third. Like, if that was a 3-man
right
amount.
There.
Woo! But yeah, we started off with the test of strength, the technical, arm drag, collar, elbow tie up, all these old school moves. It was almost like all the matches started that way back in the day, was it not?
You don't see a test of strength. Like Warrior and Hogan at WrestleMania 6 and, Piper in this match. Like, you don't see the test of strength anymore. Because, like I said earlier, I don't know if I said it while we were recording or before we recorded, this was a slow-paced match. And it was only like an 8 or 9 minute match. But it holds up because it's if you're a wrestling fan, that it was a wrestling match, like the Savage Steamboat match was a wrestling match. So if you're like, a younger kid, we're old, if you're a younger kid and you like fast paced lucha, jumping off the ropes, doing it, this is not the match for you. But if you're a wrestling fan, a pro wrestling fan, this is a match that has pro wrestling in it.
Absolutely. Like I said, the groundwork, the technical work, and you see kind of Piper holding right there with Hart. One of my favorite parts, kind of like in the beginning, I'd say it's about the middle, but the roll-up by Bret Hart. And you see like
Hart, possum.
Yeah, Piper almost feels disrespected by the roll-up, and he slaps Hart. Like
the best slap. Oh my God.
I'm like, dang, like this is the same storytelling as the promo before.
And it's funny about that match. As I was doing I knew there was a no blading rule at that time in WWE, but just researching the match. So if you watch the match, there's 2 botches, close botch. One's a botch, one's almost a botch. When Piper throws Hart into the ropes, and then he goes to go down on the mat. He almost doesn't make it, and then he does the crossbody, and he has to flip over the rope, and that's the botch where you have to like lift him up over. But if you watch closely, Hart had said he used to keep his blade in his mouth, right? He used to wrap it. He used to wrap it in tape and keep it in his mouth. He said he did it the whole match. And if you watch right after they jump over the ropes, you see Hart go like this on his mouth, and then he switches hands. And then you see him do this. and then he puts it in his boot. It's if you're watching for it, you see it, and then Piper comes. Hart's with the ref, and Piper comes up and sucker punches him, and that's what cuts him open. And there's a Bret Hart interview where he says they couldn't do that, but Flair and Savage decided to do it on the next match. They got fined. Bret and Piper did because they thought it was a real thing because they had to act like they were mad at each other after the match. And it's so funny because you watch it, you go, wow, he's really busted open. But if I only noticed it today watching it, they fall over the ropes and he pulls it out of his mouth. You see him switch hands when he's on the mat. He kind of like goes like this, and then you see him shove it in his boot. And
it's
like
art in itself, blading. Like what these guys do, like we heard, in the past, Jake the Snake with this traveling with the snake, different props, but having to like do these spots, but like you said, a blade in your mouth. Like but I mean, I'm sure his dad taught him that at like 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. My biggest takeaway was the mat wrestling. You get pretty much Piper, I would say, almost toying with Hart at the beginning of the match. It's almost like a buildup where he's the cocky heel, holding the ropes open for Hart when he goes outside, different things. And then kind of the same way this story's going, Hart starts getting the advantage and Piper's starting to get pissed. Like you can tell, it's like you're not in charge anymore, dude.
Yeah, and then the whole thing with like he grabs the bell, that he's going to hit him with the bell, and it's like that's where you think the heel turn's going to come, but then he looks around and he doesn't do it. So exactly, he's like, I love this kid, I don't want to hit him with the bell, but I'm Roddy Piper, I should be hitting him with the bell, but he doesn't want to be a heel anymore. So he does it, and that actually is the downside of the downside of him losing is because he doesn't do that, and then it's a sleeper hold, and he flips it over, which is an amazing move at the time. Nobody's ever seen that before.
Well, and you've just brought us to the end, man.
Sorry, I didn't. Did I fast forward?
No. You're good, brother. The facial, like you said, we're telling a story, and you see from the promo to start the match to literally the match, the whole thing is ups and downs while you're getting everything you want in a mid-card IC title match. They don't build those like anymore, brother. But the facial expressions, and then that same patented move Bret Hart's used a couple times, I'm sure. Where I think he did against Perfect maybe at a match or two. But 1, 2, 3, and what's Piper gonna do? Snags the belt from the ref. Bret's weak in a position of hurt. Puts the belt on him, straps him up, raises his hand, the hug. Piper's on the good side once again. And this is a match, that'll go down in history. We see kind of during this 90-92 run where all these mid-card guys like Perfect, Piper, Hart are outshining the Hogans, the Savages, the Warriors, these are Earthquake, Typhoon, whatever you want to say. It's just a different style, but I think it's unmatched anytime after that.
Exactly. Even that WrestleMania alone, the match before that, or actually I think it opened WrestleMania, was Shawn Michaels and Tito Santana. That was a phenomenal opening match because, I mean, yeah, he had shitty, bad gimmicks. Tito Santana, El Matador, and he was the Canadian Express, and then he kept the Canadian Express, or Can-Am Express, whatever, forever. But he just was a good worker. And him versus Shawn Michaels, that was actually a great match. But then you look at it, it's like, oh, Shawn Michaels became the legendary Shawn Michaels. And then you have, a couple whatever matches. And then Bret Hart and Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper was already established as a legend. Bret Hart, I think, because he beat Piper, catapulted him to the legendary status. And then all of a sudden, the next match is Flair and Savage. Like, okay, two legends right there.
All right. Before we get to fantasy booking, just two things. Entrance music. Bret Hart, Roddy Piper. They're both legendary, iconic. I felt like the goosebumps as they walked out. Which one's yours? Which one's your favorite?
See, I'm Irish. So
that's right, the pot rod.
yeah, so I'm okay. I love the bagpipes. I'm an Irish guy. Like I love bagpipes. I know he's Scottish, but I will say this about Hart's music. This Hart music, not as much as when it started with the one like
it's too much.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Then it does that like little key, like like something, and I love it. Finishing move, the sleeper, go to sleep by Piper, the sharpshooter, just kind of the way they put this on you and the setup to this. Which one you got over those?
I got to go sharpshooter. I mean, sharpshooter is one of the best moves of all time. And, I know Sting ripped it off, and The Rock does it, and Cesaro did it for a while. And I think it was Bret Hart said, I want The Rock to call me because I want to teach him how to do the sharpshooter. The sharpshooter is just, it's up there with the figure four. It's one of the greatest submission moves of all time.
Hell, he lost the WWE title to Shawn Michaels with the sharpshooter. That just tells you, boom, bada bing. Dude, let's talk fantasy booking.
Oh, yeah. Fantasy booking. Dig it. Back to me, Vinny. That's my Macho Man voice on Fantasy Booking WrestleMania 8. I'm calling you out, brother. Hit my shot. I'd love to have you on the podcast, or I'd like to walk my way onto yours. Vinny, can't wait to meet you, man. Heard nothing but good things. Fantasy Booking, Ryan. We talked Hart. We talked Piper. We've talked so much nostalgia. You can go 2022. You can go, 1917. Wrestling. Who do you want to see? Since Piper's your guy, let's go Hart first. Who's the match you want to see?
Hart, AJ Styles, right off the bat.
Oh,
AJ Styles, I think, would be phenomenal wrestling match.
Absolutely. I'm a big AJ Styles mark. I love watching all his matches. I can dig it, brother. Let's talk Piper, though. The hot rod. Yeah, kind of disrespected by WWF. Where does he belong? What is the matchup you got to see?
The match I have to see, Piper in his prime, this era, maybe even pre this, like heel Piper, there's two. And we kind of saw one of them in a Piper's Pit later in Piper's career. But the two matches I have to see, and it's not even just because of the matches, it's because of the promos. I have to see Piper and Austin and Piper and KO.
Ooh, okay.
Because those promos alone would be, I know there was a Piper's Pit with Austin and Piper, but
different
that Piper was kind of
2021 or something.
Yeah, no, he was dead by then.
WrestleMania 21. Oh, Jesus.
I mean, a Piper in his prime versus Austin in his prime, or a Piper in his prime versus Owens now. I mean, come on. You don't have three better guys on the mic. And I know Vinny will argue, and a lot of people argue that The Rock is better on the mic, and The Rock is amazing on the mic. But if you want to go full, quote unquote, heel, not heel, you don't have three better guys than Austin, KO, and Piper.
I can dig it. I have to dive into more to Piper because I remember the Piper's Pits and I remember the promos. I want to see more of the wrestling. If he is that brawler, I don't remember a ton of his matches.
If you want to see a great Piper match, go to I think it's NWA. It's Piper and Valentine in a dog collar match.
Ooh, okay.
It's one of the most brutal, amazing, and I'm not a huge Valentine fan, but Piper and Valentine in a dog collar match, and I believe it was NWA, it might have been AWA, but I'm pretty sure it was NWA. Such a brutal match that it was like, it solidified Piper as like an all-time great. And then all his Flair matches.
I thought you were going to say like WrestleMania 6 Piper versus Rhythm and Blues, Honky Tonk Man, Greg Valentine, Pink Cadillac.
Or Piper versus Bad News Brown at WrestleMania 5 when he painted half his face black.
Oh, such a rib. So bad. So different. But that's what's fun, man. A lot of people watching this, checking out the show. It is Monday. If you're not watching Raw, you better be watching WrestleMania Rewinds with me, with Ryan. Dude, so enough about Heat Ratio Sports, WrestleMania Rewinds, the wrestling mat. I want to get to you, brother, because we talked an Intercontinental title match that surrounded literally your last podcast, the Mountie, Front Facelock Podcast. You and Vinny, who I've been calling out all day, brother, getting kind of tired. Anyways, dude, let's talk your podcast, man, because this is something a lot of people don't get with other wrestling content, and I dig it.
What do you want to talk about? I mean, like, it's me and Vinny. We're drunk idiots, and we were lucky enough to get a lot of good guests on the show. Vince Russo, I would say just incredible, but he's a scumbag. PN News, Gary
just incredible scumbag. I like it.
PN News, Gary Gapetta, Vince Russo, the Mountie, Evan Roberts from there's a sports radio show in New York. He's one of the bigger sportscasters. We've had great guests. We email them. We just asked them, like, hey, you want to come on? And me and Vinny just drink and watch old paper. We grew up on the WrestleMania 4 probably was like our first like delve into it. WrestleMania 4 to today, but there was a lot of pay-per-views we didn't watch that were like, wow, that was bad. And
yeah, but that's what's so fun about wrestling content. It's not all going to be great, but some of it you're going to have, your Jessica Fletchers of Murder, She Wrote. You're going to have
you like my shirt, don't you?
That just steals the show. I've been waiting all day. But Front Facelock, it's a different style. It's a good style. It reminds me of what's good, authenticity, things that you don't get. Everybody can talk, Survivor Series reviews in the books. Yeah, but I don't get that from Front Facelock. I get a different feel, and that's what's important to me. Dude, Ryan McGann, Front Facelock on Twitter, on Instagram. Check out their podcast. Last one dropped with the Mountie, and he beat Bret Hart, brother. Ryan, any closing thoughts before we get the truck out of here?
Did I speed this up? It seems like this is a quicker episode than your normal episodes.
I'm right at 30 minutes, baby. At like 30
minutes. 30 minutes?
Start wanting a cigarette. So,
no, listen, Matty, you're one of our friends. You're part of the League of Extraordinary Idiots. One of our close friends that are doing this, and I love the fact that you love old school wrestling like we do, and we're definitely going to want to have you on. And, you have the Shawn Michaels hat. Vinny loves, Shawn Michaels. But, like you said, the wrestling community, our wrestling community is fucking amazing. Amazing. And, you're a beard guy like me. Lucky 13 Beard Company sponsors our show, and he would definitely sponsor yours if you reached out to him. He's a good guy. But, I appreciate all the kind words. That was phenomenal. I love the kind words, and I'm humbled by the fact that people like our show.
Absolutely, Ryan. You know what's not humbling? When I drop the big boot on you, brother, leg drop, 1, 2, 3. All I can say, if you're talking Shawn Michaels and you're talking Vinny, tuck your chin, brother.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Last time. Dude, best time. Ryan, Matty Daddy, Wrestling Matt, Heat Ratio Sports. Fish don't fry in the kitchen, beans don't burn on the grill, and we're out of here. Next time you see me, we're going The Rock. We're going Austin. We're going Philadelphia. Wrestlemania. Get ready. Next week, I'll have the Fantasy Hustler dropping dimes. Till next week, it's been a pleasure. My treasure. Oh!
Why don't you give it to him one more time? Woo, that's who's standing here today. Hold two, arm bar. This is
Bret screwed Bret.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.